Catharina Van Delden is the CEO and founder of Innosabi company. Please come to the stage. I'm sorry about the garbled pronunciation, but I wish you well. Thank you so much. Sign off for the messages you want me to say.
Yeah, I want Vilsa to take the stage actually.
You want to
goodbye. No, Vilsa.
Sorry?
Vilsa, my boss.
Oh, okay. She's here? You'll get it.
Perfect. I am a firm believer in the power of technology. I believe technology gives us all the capabilities to solve some of our most pressing challenges. And that means we as a tech community who have access to these types of technologies, to the methods, to the way of workings, that means we have an immense responsibility to take action. And this is the reason why at a tech conference, actually I will be talking to you about innovation and sustainability. Because boy, we do have problems. The inhabitants of this world really face so many major challenges, so many mind-blowing questions that are very, very profound. You know, we face climate change, we face resource scarcity, biodiversity loss, pollution, waste, social social responsibility that we are not meeting anymore. And most recently, I think we are all especially worried about geopolitical problems. And really, in this context, we have reached so many critical tipping points already, points of no return. We have reached points where, for example, the melting of ice has come to a point that it's clear it's not coming back. The sea levels are rising. And these are critical tipping points that in many of the fields mentioned here, we have reached already. And the question really is, how can we use our power as a tech community to solve and to tackle these problems? Because if we look historically, we as humanity have always used innovation to make progress and to solve some of our most pressing challenges. If you look, for example, at the agricultural revolution during the 20th century, we have been able to increase yields and to feed so many more people by inventing drip irrigation, by being better at pest control, of course. And that's actually one of the really good examples. Now we're questioning lots of these practices again. You know, we're questioning monocultures. We're asking ourselves, shouldn't we be driving more sustainable agriculture practices? But by that point of time, we solved a huge problem by inventing these practices. If you think about medicine, and we talked we heard Lucas from Siemens Healthineers talk about the importance of innovation in medical. If you just think about how many lives we were able to save by inventing penicillin, if we're looking at how much better we are able to treat patients because we are better at diagnostics, these are all innovations that have really significantly solved problems and have been driven by technology. Look at space innovation. You know, we've not only been exploring other planets, we've been able to build technologies to better navigate, for example, the GPS system. And we're starting to build more and more technologies that really help us tackle environmental challenges. So think of alternative energy generations, wind or solar power, of different ways of transportation, you know, going away from fossil-fueled transportation and using more sustainable solutions. And in this context, the question really is, like, how can we use digital tools and what can we do to make a major contribution? Here we go. But going one step back, I ask you, have you ever thought of what it means? Like, what's the definition of innovation? What is actually behind it? We kind of use that word as such a buzzword, you know, and we've kind of, we never really ask of ourselves the definitions. The ones of you who might have studied business or management might have learned the definition by Schumpeter. You know, the definition of an innovation is defined by being, one, a new idea, and on the other hand, having success in the market. I prefer this definition, that innovation, really in a sentence, is the legitimate hope that things will get better. And behind the sentence is exactly what we just were thinking about, you know, all the technologies that have us helped progress. But it's really behind the sentence, the notion that it's so much harder to kind of let go of our old ways of thinking and make room for the new thinking than actually to come up with new ideas. Because all of us, we have many ideas. We just need to kind of find the right processes to bring them into action and to build the right ecosystems to make that possible. So really, really, especially in the uncertain times we're living in, I love this definition of innovation, that it gives us hope that things will get better. And if we look at the fields that we can actually tackle in order to fight all the challenges we have, climate change, biodiversity loss, etc., there's so many fields we can get active in. And in every single of these fields, digital tools play a major role. So if you look at smart cities, urban planning, if you look at renewable energy, clean water, sanitation, these are all fields that we can drive innovation and that we can do it using digital tools, not only for the actual creation of the product or service, but also for the way of getting there, for the innovation management process. And, well, if we look at this really, really large picture, and we ask ourselves, what is the role of a company in this large picture? Like, how do companies actually manage all these challenges? Because companies really have to kind of rethink their purpose and their way of doing business. You might have heard the example of Edding, who, you know, the company who produces the pens. And they just recently have decided to become a so-called profit-for organization. And that means that, you know, actually their aim to generate profits is not the number one goal anymore, but the number one goal is to be a sustainable company, to engage in circular economy practices, to actually think about the whole ecosystem they're affecting, to use recycled materials, and then after all these goals, to actually focus on profit. And this is a publicly listed company, so now explain to all the shareholders, you know, that this is a new strategy. And what they're actually saying is, that's the only way forward. If we don't focus on this, if any company who doesn't focus on these challenges as a major part of their strategy will just cease to exist. They will have so many risks in the future that really shareholders should be also focusing their attention not on the actual profit, but on the sustainability strategies. And with this comes really the question of, how does a company lead the way? How does a company reinvent itself in these uncertain times? And also we have to think that, you know, it sounds so romanticized and idealistic, you know, that, you know, we maybe just saw the picture, we don't have a planet B, and but in reality, it's hardcore business behind it. You know, companies need to be not only to stay competitive and stay alive, but also they need to comply with all the new regulations, you know, the ESG reporting and all the rules coming from that really bring quite a lot of restrictions to companies on how to do business. And so companies kind of have to reinvent the game. They have to, we call it the new logic of competition. They play by a new rule book. And I find this interesting, you know, because every time kind of the world changes, like the game changes, no? The game of the economy. And in this context, for companies to stay on top of the game, they have to focus on learning and on the resilience. They have to be able to constantly reiterate, constantly learn, constantly evolve their company in order to keep up with all the new findings, with all the new development, with all the new technologies. They have to connect digital and physical, really important. They have to boost ideation, imagination, and most of all, and that has been a topic for years already, really started to be in conversation with the corona pandemic, they have to be resilient. And how do you build a resilient company, really? Like, how do you, well, resilience in terms of being able to withstand pressure and change and kind of to keep up also the morale in the employee, with the employees. And you build resilience by building a company that is able to adjust to change, and that is that has a very positive company culture, so that people feel that they are being valued, that they're being seen, that they have an opportunity to contribute. So really, behind this new rule book, it's a new type of innovation culture, a new type of company culture, and a new type of the way people work. And you probably have experienced it yourself in the last couple of years. You know, you don't take it for you don't think it's like normal anymore to go to the office every day. You know, you take it for granted that you can work from home or from your vacation, but it goes down even deeper. You know, you want to take a lot more responsibility. You really want to drive topics that are important to you. You just don't want to do business as usual. You want to change the world. And so in this new logic of competition, no, I am caught up in the, there we go. One of the major success factors, and we've been talking about this a lot today, is really that companies start to work in ecosystems. Companies are not any longer seeing themselves as closed entities, as entities where all kind of the value creation happens behind closed walls, but companies start seeing themselves more of the enabler, of the people starting conversations with the ecosystems. And when I talk about ecosystem, well, obviously, there's the nature component as well, but in this case, I'm talking about suppliers, about startups, about universities, about employees, about customers, and people who might not have any connection at all to the company, to really engage them in the creation of new products and services, to say, hey, who has the idea for good new technology? Who has an idea for a new market that we could tackle together, and really focus on collaboration in the ecosystem. And this is the part you basically see below. But if you talk about ecosystems, we also talk a lot about data. What kind of data can you use from your ecosystem in order to drive innovation? You could use patent data, data of the usage of your products. You could use scientific articles, trends, and integrate all these as well into the innovation ecosystem. And the last part is really, and we've been talking a lot about today about processes internally at companies, you have to ask yourself, what kind of initiatives does my company already have that drive innovation that I can integrate into this approach? So maybe your company already has an idea management program, a startup collaboration program, a venture fund. They might have an internal entrepreneurship program. And all these types of individual initiatives are driving ideas, are reaching out to people, and are amazing points to really bring together in order to drive, to connect knowledge as well. So for example, maybe one entrepreneur is working on a VR concept, and in the startup collaboration, somebody else is working on the same concept, but they never get actually to talk to each other. So it's really about bringing these initiatives together, and by that, bringing the people together. And as you can see, obviously, from in the world of a software entrepreneur that I am, this is only possible if you enable it by using digital tools. It's only possible if you build digital platforms where people can come together, can collaborate, and can drive innovation in the ecosystem. So I brought you 3 examples from real life, how companies are living this approach, how they are using innovation ecosystems, and some of them also are driving sustainability changes in this way. The first one is the Deutsche Telekom. They have put out a customer co-creation community. So it's a platform where customers can register and have a voice in the actual product development of the company. And now you think, every telecommunications provider, they have a lot of people complaining. So you might think, this is a platform where people just go and say, oh, I don't know, my line didn't work, I didn't have a signal. But what Telecom really does well is they see it as a very open, two-way communication. So they say, we really want to listen to your ideas, we want to listen, we want to know what we can do better. And look, this is how we've implemented it, and please give us your feedback on how we've done. So they're using this as an opportunity to communicate. And by now you can see they have 18,000 people on the platform who have contributed more than 6,000 ideas. So I think this is, and very naturally, sometimes they're testing prototypes, sometimes they're getting feedback on new product ideas. But very naturally, they're integrating sustainability questions as well. So kind of how does a telecom company really can change their way in terms of being a more sustainable company. The second case study I brought you today, you've actually already heard a bit more about from Lucas in the panel before. So Siemens Healthineers is implementing an internal platform to really drive digital transformation and innovation inside the company. And Lucas shared before, that it's their goal to break silos, to bring people together, to drive innovation challenges across the company. I've actually taken a quote from the website that again stresses, how important innovation in the medical field is, because really, it's how that you need creativity and courage to get things done and to master tomorrow's challenges. I really like that. The last example I wanted to share with you comes from the US. It's the US Air Force. He uses a platform which is called the AirFlux Challenge to work with their suppliers. And this is a very special use case that I find really interesting, because obviously if an organization like the US Air Force wants to buy whatever supply they need, it's like a purchasing process that takes years and years and years, and that slows down innovation. And then they have very long-running contracts, and they kind of never get out of it, and so they kind of get stuck with one solution. So what AFAX Challenge is doing is that they're opening this process up. They're saying we're looking for new technologies, new ideas, new products in a certain field. And one example they share very openly is the helmet you see on the right. It's a helmet used by pilots. And with this process, with this very open process, they were able to get lots of companies, very small companies, but also larger ones, to collaborate on the development of this new helmet. When you can imagine, that you have some visualizations in your shield, and it's really a very advanced concept. And they've done that in a speed never seen before. So usually this type of process takes years. They are able to cut it down to 20 weeks to actually onboard new suppliers. And you can imagine what that does to innovation in the Air Force. So if you drive this type of oh, you've jumped out of it? No. If you drive this type of innovation process, and if you usually use it specifically to drive sustainability challenges, you'll see that you benefit as a company across many different factors. You are able to very quickly react to new developments. You're able to focus, and we've talked about before about funnel management. You're able to focus really on the projects that have a high rate of success in the end of the market, because I've never heard a company say, we don't have any ideas. My team, our employees, they're so boring. They never come up with any ideas. Not a single company has ever said that to me. What they all say is, our employees are amazing. They have so many ideas, and we just really don't know how to prioritize. And what we do then is all the ideas that we like, we just put money and budget on it and time on it and kind of drive it forward up to a point when we can decide if we're actually going to implement this or not. And you can imagine that this is a huge waste of time and money. So if you're able, by working with your ecosystem, to determine very early on which are the projects that you should prioritize and which are the ones that actually have market success afterwards, because maybe you worked with your clients, with your customers, maybe you've gotten a supplier involved very early on, maybe you've gotten feedback from employees, then you're able to invest the innovation budget in a much better way. Obviously, you also are able to come up with ideas that you've maybe not even thought of before, but because you start to work with an ecosystem, completely new fields and new points of view are possible. But this means that the leadership team really has to change their style, because we come from a world where companies are organized in a very hierarchical manner. The person who has the highest title is the one who takes the decisions. But is that really the person who knows best everything? Well, as the founder of my company myself, I feel like everybody thinks I should know everything, but in reality, my team, for every topic, there's a specialist who knows it better than me. And why should I take the decision if that person just, is expert in that? And so we have to go away from that hierarchical thinking and really have to give the voice and the decision power to the people who know. And well, I love the word for it, as describing it as humble leadership, because this type of leadership really means not only empowering the teams, but it means taking a step back yourself as a leader and saying, well, I'm kind of more of the cheerleader. I'm the enabler. I'm bringing people together. I'm paving the path that my team can do their best, that they can actually perform. But it's not my job myself, to do it all myself or to take all the decisions. And in the end, it really comes down to talking to people at eye level. Because if you work in an ecosystem and you, let's say, work with a customer, well, you ask that customer for an idea, you ask them for feedback. What is it worth if you don't take them seriously? You just don't do it at all. If you don't take them seriously, you can just do it the old way. But in the end, that means, that if this innovation ecosystem only works if we take people seriously, if we meet them at eye level, that means a very new way of how we see humans in economy. Because before, it was this hierarchical structure, and it was very unlikely that we met people at this level. So this is something I really, really like about this approach, and I see it happening, in companies. I see it happening. You've seen 3 amazing examples, who are all living it already. And I think this is, if this is the way our economy is going, that we start taking people a lot more serious and meeting them at eye level, that's something makes me really optimistic. And coming back to the definition of innovation, that there's hope for positive change. Oh, skip one. Skip the most important slide. So really, I want to end this talk with a call to action to everyone. To everyone in the tech community, to everyone being here. Because if we want to generate positive change, we need to create it. If we want a good future, we need to make it possible. And the people in this room and everybody who's working in tech, we have the tools to do so. We know how to tackle these types of problems. So we need to take this responsibility serious to make this planet a place that is livable, not only for us, but for the generations to come. And well, to continue, be able to drink beer. Well, I'm Catharina. I didn't formally introduce myself. I'm Catharina Van Delden. I'm the co-founder of Innosabi. Innosabi is a company that develops innovation management software. So we basically build the tools to make this type of collaboration possible that you've just seen. You see some of our clients on the bottom. One very recent addition to this portfolio is NASA, which makes, as a founder, that's kind of a huge milestone to check off if a company, an organization with that innovative brand and innovative mission is actually using your tool to innovate. That's kind of cool. So with that, actually I'm sorry, I don't have no idea about the time because I didn't bring a watch. So I hope we have time for a couple of questions, and I invite you to get into dialogue. And also, well, I'm going to be here tomorrow as well, and I'll hope to meet as many of you possible to talk about these topics. Thank you.
Does anybody have a question for Catharina? Personally, Catharina, I thought that was beautiful, and I'm honoured to have heard it. And this is why you should stay at conferences until the last moment for the beauty. Are there any questions for Catharina? Please.
Hello, it was a lovely presentation. I'm just, it's pity that you didn't have the chance to speak earlier with a wider audience, because what you have presented is simply very important to our corporates as well.
Yeah.
And we have started seeing this in Kosovo as well. While the companies are smaller, they don't think about the innovation ecosystem. They think about how to survive. And when they become bigger as corporate, they start thinking about the innovation ecosystem. And we are seeing this every day. There is no question. I just wanted to say that you were brilliant.
Hear, hear.
And I liked your presentation very much. Thank you.
Actually, thank you to both of you. This means very, very much to me personally, because actually you might have noticed that I'm a bit more nervous than usual. Which normally, if I have to present, that's like easy. But today was different because it's the first time that I'm actually putting this message out. I've been working on this for quite a long time now, on like how does innovation really help us as humans and us as society, and not only humans, honestly, but really because we have to think about other species as well. Not only on always focusing on us. But it's really kind of, before, as being the innovation management software founder, I talk about innovation management. But this is the first time I'm kind of bringing the topics together, and I'm really proud that I was able to do it here. So thank you for the feedback.
You are a humble leader, obviously. Absolutely.